What if I told you that everything we believed about Clarence's friendships was a lie? That while we watched three inseparable best friends go on adventures together, one of them was secretly thinking he was better than the others the entire time. Today, I'm going to prove something shocking. Clarence only had one true friend. And Jeff? Well, Jeff might have been the most selfish best friend in cartoon history. But before we dive into this revelation, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because you won't want to miss what comes next. And if you love Clarence, hit that like button. Ready? Let's expose the truth. The trio that wasn't really a trio. Throughout the entire series, we were sold this beautiful story. Jeff, Sumo, and Clarence, three best friends who did everything together. They hung out constantly, went to each other's houses, shared every adventure. The show wanted us to believe they were inseparable. But here's the thing. When you actually pay attention to the details, the cracks start showing. Because while Clarence and Sumo genuinely saw each other as best friends, Jeff had a very different perspective. And there are countless moments throughout the series that prove Jeff never truly saw them as equals. Maybe Jeff didn't view Clarence and Sumo the way they viewed him. Maybe to Jeff, they were never his best friends at all. The episode that changes everything. Let me take you back to Season 4, Episode 26, Anywhere But Sumo. Even the title is heartbreaking when you think about it. It literally means anywhere except where Sumo is. This episode came at a turning point in the series. Remember when Sumo had to change schools? It wasn't by choice. The mayor made a decision about school zones, and suddenly Sumo's house was assigned to a different school. Just like that, he had to leave. And it was devastating for everyone. Clarence even tried to convince Sumo to live with him so he wouldn't have to transfer. But it didn't work. At first, the adjustment was brutal. There was even an entire episode dedicated to showing Clarence and Sumo trying to play together while being at different schools. But here's the reality. Time passes, people adapt, and eventually Sumo made new friends. That's just life, right? By the time we get to this Season 4 episode, a significant amount of time has passed. You can tell because Sumo's hair has grown really long, and he looks genuinely happy at his new school. Watch this scene closely. Sumo is completely comfortable now. He's laughing with his new friends, asking about Rocket Club tomorrow. He's not the lost, confused kid who just transferred anymore. He's thriving. And Clarence? Well, Clarence seemed okay with it too. I think he realized that even though they went to different schools, nothing really had to change. They were still best friends. They could still meet up after school. Everything would be fine. In fact, we see exactly that happening. The three friends meeting up after school, just like old times. But here's where things get interesting. After walking together for a bit, Clarence and Sumo spot an old abandoned couch on the street, and immediately, instantly, they see it as the foundation for their new hangout spot. Their eyes light up with excitement. This is going to be their place. Jeff's reaction? He's disgusted. Of course he is, because that's who Jeff is. He's too good for a dirty old couch on the street. So Jeff leaves, and it's just Clarence and Sumo, setting up their little hideaway, laughing and planning. And during this moment, something beautiful happens. Clarence has a flashback. He remembers the very first time he met Sumo. It was such a random, unexpected meeting. Sumo had just asked Clarence to cut his hair, just like that, out of nowhere. And Clarence did it. And somehow that moment became the foundation of their entire friendship. They celebrate this memory like it's a birthday. That's how much it means to them. And to honor it, Clarence asks if he can cut Sumo's hair again. And Sumo agrees. He was planning to cut it anyway since it had gotten so long and it was hot. There's something hilarious about what happens next. The next day, Clarence shows up with his mom's hair clippers. The only problem, she's in the middle of cutting a client's hair. The scene is comedy gold. Clarence, you can't just take these while I'm... Sir, do you want me to leave it like this or what? But when Clarence arrives at Sumo's new school with those clippers, ready to recreate their special moment, he sees something that shatters him. The heartbreak. Sumo is surrounded by his new friends, laughing, having fun, being part of a group. And Clarence just freezes. He doesn't handle it well, at all. The next day, he pretends to be sick. Why? Because he has a plan. He's going to spy on Sumo. He needs to understand what's happening at that new school. And what he discovers crushes him. Sumo has genuinely bonded with these kids. There's even a scene where Sumo is in a group hug with all of them, and Clarence realizes these aren't just acquaintances. These are Sumo's close friends now. So Clarence becomes desperate. He wants to be in two places at once. He wants to be at his own school and at Sumo's school simultaneously. It's impossible, but he tries anyway. His solution is absolutely ridiculous. He finds one of Sumo's new friends and basically forces him to dress exactly like Clarence, complete with a radio so Clarence can feed him lines from a distance. It's like Clarence is trying to create a puppet version of himself. I have no idea how Clarence convinced this kid to go along with it, but somehow he does. And for a moment, it actually seems to work. Clarence is essentially attending Sumo school remotely through this poxy. They even try to pull a prank on the teacher, hiding a chicken under his desk to scare him. Classic Clarence and Sumo chaos, right? Except it backfires completely. The teacher isn't scared of chickens at all. In fact, he immediately suspects who did it. Sumo and his new best friend. Wait, what? The crushing reality. The teacher's exact words haunt Clarence. Our two favorite troublemakers, Sumo and Jimmy, the inseparable duo. The inseparable duo? Sumo and Jimmy, not Sumo and Clarence. That's when it hits him. At this new school, Clarence doesn't exist. Sumo has replaced him. Jimmy is Sumo's best friend now. Clarence is devastated. He thinks his worst nightmare is coming true, that making new friends means losing old ones, that Sumo will forget about him completely. But here's the thing, and this is what makes Clarence's fear so tragic. That's not how friendship works. People don't stop being your friend just because they make new friends. But Clarence doesn't understand that yet. He's too young, too emotional, too scared. Why Jeff was different. And this is where we need to talk about why Sumo was Clarence's only real friend. Because throughout all of this, where was Jeff? Jeff was there, sure, but Jeff didn't share Clarence's sense of adventure. Jeff was too uptight, too clean, too concerned with rules and propriety. Clarence missed the chaos. He missed getting into trouble. And Jeff hated getting into trouble. In fact, being associated with troublemaking behavior was Jeff's worst nightmare. Remember the detention episode, when all three of them ended up in detention together? Clarence and Sumo didn't even care. They thought it was hilarious. They were thrilled just to have the whole school to themselves on a weekend. They turned it into an adventure. But Jeff was miserable. He hated every second of being linked to that kind of behavior. The moment Jeff revealed his true colors. But nothing compares to the moment that truly exposed Jeff's real feelings. There's an episode where Jeff is absolutely obsessed with being the top student in class. He's convinced he's going to get the highest grades and be moved to a better, more advanced classroom. He's already mentally celebrating his superiority. But then the teacher makes her decision. Jeff is staying in the same class as Sumo and Clarence. Jeff is devastated, and the teacher, trying to be nice, says, "I thought you'd want to stay close to your friends." Then she asks him directly, "Don't you like being with your friends?" And Jeff's response, his honest, unfiltered response, is this: "No, I want my life to be better than theirs." Let that sink in. I want my life to be better than theirs. He literally sees Clarence and Sumo as beneath him, as inferior. He doesn't want to be associated with them because he thinks he's better than them. Jeff's jealousy. Or what about when Clarence got a girlfriend? Sumo was genuinely happy for him. He celebrated Clarence's happiness because that's what real friends do. Jeff walked away sulking. He was angry because in his mind, I should have been the first one in the group to get a girlfriend. I'm the good one. I do everything right. He wasn't happy for Clarence at all. He was jealous, envious. And when Clarence's relationship didn't work out, Jeff seemed interested in the girl himself. So if we're being honest, Jeff has shown repeatedly that he would betray Clarence in a heartbeat if it benefited him personally. But wait, there's more to Jeff. Now, in fairness, because I've been pretty harsh on Jeff this whole time, there are moments that show Jeff genuinely cares. He can be selfish, he can be superior, he can be jealous. But deep down, buried under all those flaws, he does care about Clarence and Sumo. In that same season 4 episode where Clarence is suffering over potentially losing Sumo, Jeff tries to talk to him the entire episode, but Clarence is too distracted, too focused on his fear of losing Sumo. There's even a funny moment where Jeff wants Clarence to cut his hair too, which is shocking because Jeff knows how clumsy Clarence is. Okay, fine, Jeff, I love you. Nobody asked if I wanted a haircut. Jeff also wanted to tell Clarence that summer vacation was coming. He even had plans for things they could all do together, but he never got the chance because Clarence was always rushing off. You've been so lost in this whole friendship with Sumo thing that I don't think you even realized you had time to be Jeff's friend. The scene that redeemed Jeff. But the scene that really shows Jeff cares comes at the very end of the episode. Jeff finally manages to tell Clarence and Sumo that summer vacation is starting, which means they'll all have time to hang out together again, all the time in the world. And even though Jeff hates the idea of sitting on that dirty old couch, he says he'll bring his beach chair and sit next to them. That gesture, that small act of compromise, shows everything. Jeff has a lot of flaws. We can question his loyalty, but despite everything, even if it's buried deep down, he cares. Because when he sees Clarence and Sumo laughing and having fun without him, he feels excluded. He feels left out. So he gets up from his nice clean beach chair and sits on the dirty couch with them. He does something he hates, sitting on a gross, dirty couch just to be close to them. Oh, come on, but if I get lice, you guys are paying for my hospital bills. The final verdict. So here's my conclusion. Clarence and Sumo were truly best friends. Their personalities matched perfectly. Their sense of fun was identical. They genuinely saw each other as equals and loved spending time together. Jeff, on the other hand, has a complicated relationship with both of them. There are countless moments proving he doesn't see them the same way they see him. He thinks he's superior. He gets jealous of their successes. He actively avoids being associated with their lower-class behavior. But here's what I think really happened. In the beginning, Jeff probably didn't care much about Clarence and Sumo, but over time, spending all that time together, being part of their adventures, it changed him. He started to care. Against his own nature, against his own ego, he developed real feelings for them. So Jeff is stuck in this constant internal conflict, his selfish, superior personality versus his genuine affection for his friends. And despite all his flaws, despite all the evidence I've shown you today, he still cares. So what do you think? Do you agree that Clarence and Sumo were way closer than Jeff ever was with either of them? Do you think Jeff was a fake friend or just a complicated person trying his best? Leave your opinions in the comments. I'll reply to everyone, okay? And don't forget to check if you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss the next videos. See you later.